You know that platonic crush everyone had back in school? That person you barely talked to, but in your head, you were already planning the wedding, picking out baby names, and choosing the color of your future house. It's that dreamy, innocent phase that hits most of us at some point. Now imagine if that person wasn't just daydreaming about you, but actually carried a cell phone that predicted your every move. And worse, they were willing to take out anyone who stood in the way of your happily ever after, with an axe in hand and a smile on their face. Welcome to the Future Diary. This anime took the survival game formula, something we've become familiar with thanks to stories like The Hunger Games, and threw it headfirst into one of the most toxic and fascinating relationships in the history of animation. We follow Yuki, a protagonist who just wanted to keep to himself, but ends up being dragged into a deadly game where the prize is nothing less than becoming God. And his main ally, Yuno, the obsessive stalker who completely redefined what it means to be a psycho girlfriend in pop culture. That's why today on the channel, we're taking a look back at one of the most unforgettable anime classics that made a whole generation of teens dream about having a yandere like Yuno. The scene opens with a girl crying, trying to wake up a guy who appears to be dead. It then cuts to another girl talking to her parents when a mysterious figure appears and stabs her. Before she dies, she whispers a plea for help to someone named Yuki. Then we meet Yuki, a lonely kid who spends his days writing in a diary on his phone. After school, he rushes to his room to chat with his imaginary friend, Deus Ex Machina, the god of time and space. Yes, his imaginary friend is a god. During their conversation, Deus's assistant, Murmur, mocks Yuki's diary, saying it's useless. Deus then asks Yuki if he feels lonely and offers him a chance to change his situation, mentioning an interesting game. Yuki shrugs it off, thinking it's just his imaginary friend talking. But the next morning, he wakes up to find his diary already filled with the day's events. And the weirdest part? Everything starts to happen exactly as written. Deus reveals he's a real god and gives Yuki a grim warning. If his diary is destroyed, he dies.
Should your phone come to ruin, so shall the march of days it serves as a privileged window upon. Your life will be forfeit.
Yuki starts using the diary to his advantage, avoiding bullies and cheating on a test. That is until he sees a dead-end notice on his phone. Shortly after, he's approached by a stalker named Yuno, who also has a future diary phone. Yuki panics and runs, but she chases him to a building under construction. He gets into an elevator, but Yuno manages to slip in just before the doors close. Shocked, she pins him against the wall and kisses him. Yuno then changes the elevator's destination to the rooftop, where she helps him escape the third diary holder, a serial killer. Yuki manages to throw a dart at the killer's phone, causing him to vanish into a vortex. In the end, Deus explains the rules of the game to Yuki and the other holders. It's a battle royale to see who will survive and become the new god. Yuno has already sent Yuki 40 messages, and he has no idea how she got his number. At school, Yuki tries to talk to her about what happened, but Yuno says she has gym class and will talk to him later. Out of nowhere, a terrorist named Minene, the 9th holder, bursts into the classroom, asking for the 3rd. Terrified, Yuki grabs his diary to check the future, and Minene confirms he is the 1st. Meanwhile, Yuno sees her Yuki diary update and rushes to save her beloved, attacking Minene with a fire extinguisher. Minene dodges and jumps out the window. That's when things get serious. She reveals she's planted bombs all over the school and taken everyone hostage. The explosions begin, and Yuno becomes Yuki's only chance of survival. They escape the bombs with the help of Yuki's diary, but he's shaken to learn his diary only predicts what happens around him, not to him. Yuno cheers him up, revealing that her diary predicts everything about Yuki. Together, they're like an invincible and very bizarre duo. Yuno suggests they find the teachers and their classmates, but the plan backfires. Minene had offered the students their freedom in exchange for Yuki's head. Betrayed and scared, Yuki is handed over to the terrorist, who places his diary in the middle of a minefield. Yuno realizes everyone there is an enemy and snaps, activating motion sensor bombs to massacre the students. Just then, Kurusu, the 4th holder, appears and shoots at Minene's hair to get her attention. The situation worsens when Minene blackmails him into killing Yuki, but Yuno reappears, attacking the 9th and giving Yuki a chance to retrieve his diary. While Kurusu shoots at Minene, Yuno guides Yuki through the minefield. When all seems lost, the remaining students attack Minene with school supplies. Yuki seizes the opportunity, grabs a dart, and, in an attempt to destroy her diary, ends up hitting her left eye. Minene reveals her diary is the escape escape diary, activates a smokescreen, and escapes on a motorcycle. In the end, the first, second, and fourth form an alliance to put an end to this crazy game. Here, Detective Kurusu comes up with a brilliant idea. Send Yuki and Yuno on a forced date to an amusement park to lure out the terrorist Minene. Yuki isn't thrilled with the idea of being bait, but what can you do? Throughout the day, Yuki watches Yuno and realizes that, despite being a professional stalker, she can actually act like a normal girl. They go on a ghost train and get scared out of their minds together in an almost cute moment. Later, at the water park, Yuno's bikini top decides to take a trip on its own, and she ends up falling into Yuki's arms, a classic anime trope. On the Ferris wheel, Yuki finally asks her point blank why she stalks him. Yuno throws the question back, asking why he ran away from the planetarium. Then comes the flashback. A year ago, Yuno saw Yuki writing that his dream was to see the stars since his parents had separated. When he was about to delete it, she stopped him and offered to be his bride so they could go together. Yuki thought it was a joke, but to her, it was a serious promise. Meanwhile, Minene is on the run from the police and is found by a weirdo named Yomatsu, who takes her to a cabin and drugs her. He reveals that he hypnotized her, puts on a strange lycra costume, and starts trying to extract information about Yuki. Back on the date, Yuki goes to Yuno's house and finds a room completely sealed off with tape. Curious to see if he can change the future, he opens the door and stumbles upon a horror movie scene. 3 bodies on the floor and blood everywhere. Yuno appears, crying that her happy end is gone.
Why'd you do it? We were good, right? You just couldn't stand not to look.
Yuki runs home in terror, locks himself in, and when he looks at his mailbox, there are Yuno's psycho eyes, wishing him good night. Yuki spends a sleepless night, completely freaked out by the bodies he saw at Yuno's house. He considers telling Kurusu everything, but backs down when he realizes Yuno is watching his every move like a personal and deadly big brother. The next day, Kurusu takes the couple to the Omakata temple, where Minene is supposedly being held. There, they meet High Priestess Tsubaki, the owner of the 6th diary. Her power is clairvoyance. She sees the future through the eyes of her followers, and her diary has already marked a dead end for her. Tsubaki proposes a deal. Yuki protects her, and in return, she'll hand over Minene. Even with Yuno shooting daggers at the idea with her eyes, Yuki accepts. That night, chaos erupts. Tsubaki's futon catches fire, and her followers, completely out of their minds, storm the room, attacking each other with axes like they're in a zombie movie. Yuno couldn't care less if Tsubaki gets what's coming to her and tells Yuki to get out of there. But Yuki, remembering the gruesome scene at Yuno's house, decides he can't trust her and resolves to save Tsubaki. Yuno is pissed. Meanwhile, in the temple's basement, the lycra-clad weirdo Yomatsu explains to a chained-up Minene that the diaries work like a game of rock, paper, scissors. He fancies himself a hero of justice, but Minene scoffs and warns him he's met his match in Yuno, and she was right. Back in the chaos, Yuno notices that the injured followers are just playing dead. Without a second thought, she grabs an axe and finishes the job. Covered in blood, she gives a little smile and delivers an ultimatum to Yuki. Either he stays with her and lives, or he stays with Tsubaki and dies. The choice is yours, Yuki. Here we learn about Tsubaki's tragic past. She was the mascot of a bizarre cult called Omakata, all at her parents' command. Her life was relatively peaceful until a car accident killed her parents. The group's second in command manipulated the followers into believing that the path to so-called purification involved mistreating Tsubaki. For 2 years, she was trapped in a dire situation, and the only thing that helped her stay grounded was a small red ball. One day, the ball disappears, and that's when her mind starts to break. Back in the present, Yuki, Yuno, and Tsubaki are fleeing the temple. Meanwhile, Detective Kurusu calls for backup and searches for the terrorist Minene. She, in turn, is listening to a recorder belonging to the 12th, a blind man whose justice diary points out any evil that occurs. Hearing that the future has changed, the 12th arms himself with an explosive and simply lets Minene escape. Shortly after, Kurusu captures her. The trio discovers that the cultist's hypnosis has worn off. Yuno goes into a berserker mode and decides she wants to eliminate Tsubaki, much to Yuki's despair. Just then, the 12th appears in grand style, like a Power Ranger with 4 clones, and corners everyone. He announces that his target is Tsubaki and tells Yuki to scram. The 12th attacks, but Yuno, who is no fool, tricks him by using his super hearing against him. With the hero of justice defeated, Tsubaki drops the damsel in distress act and captures Yuki and Yuno. To provoke her, she kisses Yuki right in front of Yuno. To escape and save her love, Yuno simply cuts off her own hand. Tsubaki then uses Yuno as bait, planning to do to her what was done in the past. But Yuki, remembering a date with Yuno, finds Tsubaki's old red ball and returns to rescue her. He throws the ball, distracting the followers, which creates a glitch in Tsubaki's diary. Yuki seizes the chance and hits her scroll with a dart. Tsubaki dies, lamenting that her ball returned too late. In the end, Yuki and Yuno kiss in a police car, and Kurusu makes a mysterious deal with Minene. While Yuki is at the train station waiting for his mother, Yuno decides to pay a little visit by breaking into his house. Yuki's mom, a game designer, has taken a few days off because a colleague died in the Omakata cult incident, and she volunteered to take care of the woman's son, a little boy named Reisuke. Taking advantage of the empty house, Yuno plays the perfect wife. She cleans everything, tidies up the room, and sets the stage to be accepted by her future mother-in-law. When Yuki and his mother arrive, they notice the intrusion. Yuki, who already saw what happened in his diary, runs to his room to try and hide Yuno in the closet, but it's no use. To everyone's surprise, his mother and Yuno get along great. During dinner, the conversation is all about Yuki and even marriage. Afterward, his mother Rhea shows them a photo album of baby Yuki, leaving him completely embarrassed. Yuno even gets permission to sleep in his room, in a separate bed. She goes to take a shower, and from behind the shower curtain, we see her insane side emerge, right after Rhea asks her to take good care of Yuki. Later, the boy Reisuke arrives by taxi. As soon as he's introduced, the little kid makes his first assassination attempt. He trips with a pair of scissors pointed directly at Yuno. Luckily, Yuno had already predicted the attack and defends herself with a pillow. Reisuke, looking flustered, says he's going to the bathroom.
I'm all right. The cushions, another story. Oops.
Inside, the little angel reveals his true colors. Reisuke pulls his own diary from his pocket, revealing himself as the fifth holder. Yuki's house has just become the new battlefield. Since Yuki and Yuno's diaries together are a powerful duo, he needs to get more creative. During a family lunch, he prepares a special little salad, lacing the tomatoes with poison. But Yuno, who's no fool, notices the tomatoes' weight is off and throws the salad out before anyone can eat it. The kid's plan goes down the drain, but he doesn't give up. The boy is like a mini-evil MacGyver and moves on to plan B, a deadly bathtub trap, mixing salt water and messing with the wiring to electrocute whoever gets in. Yuki's diary warns him that Yuno will be the victim. At the critical moment, as Reisuke is about to connect the wires, Yuki turns a hairdryer on full blast, causing a power outage and ruining the plan. Yuno has had enough and wants to erase the kid for good, but Yuki, with his soft heart, insists on finding his diary first. The search turns into a frenzy until the doorbell rings. It's a delivery for Reisuke. Yuki, on impulse, runs to get the package and opens it. Bad idea. It was a poison gas trap.
Don't open it! Excellent.
The kid, now wearing a gas mask, issues a challenge, a deadly game of hide and seek. If Yuno catches him, he'll give her the antidote. The house becomes a minefield of noisy toys and booby traps. In the climax on the stairs, he throws a light bulb into the water to electrocute Yuno. But Yuki, even on the verge of passing out, throws a dart into the boy's shoulder, and even gives Yuno a kiss to pass her his remaining air. With the path clear, Yuno finally stabs Reisuke in the chest. Before turning into cosmic dust, he delivers a prophecy. One day, she and Yuki will have to kill each other. Shortly after, Minene appears out of nowhere and saves them both with the antidote, an unknown diary. Holder is having a chat with Deus Ex Machina, ask him to pass their diary on to someone else. Mysterious. Cut to Yuki on his way to his new school when he notices a white-haired boy spying on him from a distance. Yuno, with her danger sense always on high alert, tells him to hide his diary. At school, Yuki immediately gets into a fight with a guy named Kosaka, but two girls, Hinata and Mao, defend him, and just like that, a new squad is born. After school, they decide to go to a park, despite news reports of murders in the area. Yuno doesn't like the idea but goes along so she doesn't have to leave Yuki's side. At the park, Hinata disappears and is suddenly attacked by a pack of dogs. Their diaries show a horrifying future. Hinata's body will be found. That's when the white-haired boy from before shows up. His name is Akise, and he basically introduces himself as the group's Sherlock Holmes, helping everyone escape to an observatory. We discover that the dog's owner, Karyudo, is controlling everything from a distance, like an evil Pokemon master, but with killer dogs. Inside the observatory, Akise reveals he's been keeping an eye on Yuki for a while, connecting him to all the crazy incidents that have been happening. When it seems like the dogs have given up, Mao pulls out a knife and threatens Yuki, stealing his diary, Plot twist. And to make matters worse, Hinata shows up, alive and well. Her death was faked. She reveals herself as a diary holder and lays out the truth. Her target isn't Yuki or Yuno, but Akise. The entire trap was set to catch the detective.
It's not your future diary I'm after. It's the boy detective's.
We cut to a flashback. Hinata's father, Karyudo, tells his daughter that he's the killer behind the recent crimes. He reveals he's in the survival game and wants to become the new Deus Ex Machina to bring their family back together, but he needs her help. Since Akise has been snooping around, her father thinks he's a rival diary holder and tells Hinata to take care of him. Back in the present, Hinata has Akise cornered. Cool as a cucumber, he proposes a game. He flips a coin and challenges her to guess which hand he caught it in. In return, he'll hand over his diary. Akise guesses right every time, and Hinata ends up releasing Yuki. But Yuno, who's nobody's fool, notices that Akise's diary didn't make the static noise when the future changed. She lunges at him, and the group discovers the truth. The guy's phone is blank. He doesn't have a diary at all and was winning through sheer luck and wit. Hinata, out of patience, agrees to one last round for Yuki's diary. Akise guesses right again, but Yuno uses the distraction to knock Yuki out. It's a brilliant move. She wants to exploit the weakness of the random diary, which only works based on what Yuki sees. If he's unconscious, the diary is useless. In the middle of the confusion, Mao tries to help Hinata but gets stabbed by Yuno instead. The group tries to escape, but Hinata sends her dogs after them. Yuki, in full protagonist mode powered by friendship, goes back to try and salvage his friendship with her. This sends Yuno into a jealous rage, and she threatens to kill Hinata and anyone else who gets between her and Yuki. To calm the beast, Yuki introduces Yuno as his girlfriend. Suddenly, one of the dogs starts speaking with Hinata's father's voice. He admits he lied about reuniting the family and warns her not to trust nice people. He implies that Kurusu is with him, and a gunshot rings out immediately after. The breeder's diary announces game over for its owner. A while later, we cut to something strange. Yuno is digging a huge hole in her backyard for some mysterious reason. The scene cuts to Yuki waiting for Akise when Yuno suddenly appears and practically kidnaps him, dragging him onto a bus headed for a bridal fair. And who greets them? None other than Kurusu's wife. First, they taste the food, which is so fancy Yuki feels like he's suddenly rich. Then, it's on to the outfits. Yuki gets a groom's tuxedo, and Yuno appears in a stunning wedding dress, leaving Yuki speechless and admitting she looks beautiful. The main event is a mock ceremony in the chapel. Yuki hesitates, but Yuno says it's okay if he doesn't want to because the day has already been fun. With that, he agrees. After all, it's just a rehearsal, right? The ceremony proceeds, but right when Yuki has to say yes or no, the screen cuts to black. Total suspense. When they arrive at Yuno's house, they come face to face with Akise. He tells them he's been investigating the house, including the infamous forbidden room. But instead of bodies, he only found a giant hole in the floor, probably the one Yuno was digging at the beginning. Yuki confronts Yuno, but she acts like she has no idea what he's talking about, as if her mind has rebooted, even pretending it's Yuki's first time at her house. On the way home, Akise explains his theory to Yuki. Yuno's mind is so unstable that she simply rewrites her own memories to cope. Basically, she's only stable and normal when she's near Yuki. He's the psychopath's safe harbor. While all this relationship drama unfolds, Kurusu is busy framing Yuki and Yuno for the murder of Hinata's father. The situation, which was already bad, just got a whole lot worse. Police officer Kurusu strikes a deal with the terrorist Minene. He helps her escape from the police, and in return, she owes him a mysterious favor. Cut to Yuki walking down the street at night with Yuno trailing him. He's freaking out about the fake relationship he invented just to save Hinata, but his thoughts are interrupted when the police show up and take them both to the station. At the station, Yuno is already on edge, looking for a weapon and muttering that they're in danger. Before Yuki can figure out what's going on, he's taken to an interrogation room with Kurusu. The officer simply calls off their alliance and forces Yuki to play Russian roulette.
Before I let you out of here, though, how about we play a friendly little game?
The vibe is like The Deer Hunter, only way more tense. Just as Yuki is about to shoot himself in the head, Yuno bursts into the room with a stolen gun and riddles Kurusu with bullets. She takes Detective Nishijima hostage and escapes with Yuki. But here comes the plot twist. Kurusu was wearing a bulletproof vest. He survived, only losing an ear. The whole thing was a trap to make Yuno attack, turn her into a criminal, and thus allow him to track her with his investigation diary. To make matters worse, in the middle of the escape, Yuki panics, fires a shot, and hits another officer. Just like that, he's on Kurusu's radar too. Hiding near a hospital, Yuki and Yuno spot Kurusu's wife and follow her, walking straight into a trap set by Minene. It turns out Kurusu was blackmailing the Ninth, threatening her life. This shatters their alliance and triggers a dead end in her diary. With no way out, Minene switches sides and allies with Yuki and Yuno, revealing her hostages, Kurusu's wife and his terminally ill son. She explains that her original deal was that if she won the game, she'd use the power to give the boy a better life. Meanwhile, the police surround the hospital, with a bandaged Kurusu leading the charge. With Minene holding Kurusu's family hostage, Yuki starts to think that trusting Yuno might not be such a bad idea after all. The Ninth gives him a grenade and tells him to watch the perimeter. Minene calls Kurusu to make her demands, but he cuts her off. He says the only hope for his dying son is for him to become the new Deus Ex Machina. With that, he orders his forces to storm the hospital. In the chaos, the police capture Yuki, but when Yuno appears, Kurusu uses him as a human shield. The girl threatens to use the grenade she gave Yuki, and Kurusu lets him go. Wanting to repay Yuki for being the light of her life, Yuno pulls the pin, ready to blow herself up and take Kurusu with her. Meanwhile, Minene runs into Detective Nishijima, who handcuffs himself to her. The bomb she planted in Kurusu's son's room explodes, and the Ninth takes off running, dragging the officer along with her. In the hospital rubble, Kurusu threatens Yuno with a knife, and Yuki points a gun at him. The first and second's diaries predict that Yuki will miss the shot and hit Yuno, but the kid ignores the future, screams that he loves her, and against all odds lands the shot on Kurusu. At that moment, Minene and Nishijima appear. She shows the detective a recording that proves Kurusu acted outside the law. Nishijima arrests Kurusu, rendering his diary useless. Kurusu asks Minene to take care of his son and breaks his own diary, saying he believes Yuki will win the game. Days later, Minene escapes. Nishijima clears Yuki and Yuno's names, and the little couple goes stargazing. Akise sends Yuki a message warning him not to get too close to Yuno, but she deletes it before he can read it. On the train, Yuki asks what's in her giant suitcase. She tells him not to worry. Turns out the suitcase contains lingerie, a bunch of medication, and 2 skulls. Yeah, this is way darker than it looks. In the Cathedral of Causality, we see Mormor preparing mochi, while Deus reflects on the fort's elimination. He figures out that Mormor has been manipulating the game to speed things up, since Deus himself is on borrowed time and needs a successor ASAP. To make things more interesting, she proposes a bet. She's on Team Yuno, and Deus, of course, bets on Yuki. It's like a celestial cockfight to see who will inherit the throne. Meanwhile, Yuki and Yuno go on a romantic date to see the stars. But along the way, Yuno pulls a crazy GPS move and changes the destination. Things get so suspicious that Akise, the group's Sherlock Holmes, senses trouble and calls Detective Nishijima. Together, they discover the couple has ended up at an abandoned resort worthy of a horror film. Akise summons the rest of the crew, Hinata, Mao, and Kosaka, for a rescue mission. When they get there, they split up to search, and that's when all hell breaks loose. Yuno has set up a macabre amusement park of her own. Akise and Kosaka fall into several traps.
Here's in this one. My legs could use a break.
While Hinata is tricked by a fake text message Yuno sent from Yuki's phone. When the rest of the group tries to find Hinata, they end up trapped in a room that starts filling with gas. The final scene is stomach-churning. Yuki appears tied to a chair, completely dazed. And Yuno? She's in paradise, seated like a queen on a throne, feeding him with a spoon and wearing a psychotic smile. Welcome to the worst date in history, but Akise isn't about to let that slide. Using a security camera, he turns into a hacker and confronts Yuno. He lays it all out. He dug up 3 bodies in her garden, and guess what? 2 of them were missing the skulls that are now decorating the room. Checkmate. Akise threatens to turn everything over to the police if she doesn't release the others, but Yuno's brain simply blue screens. The stress is so overwhelming that she alters her own memories to avoid dealing with the truth, and any chance of negotiation goes down the drain. Meanwhile, Kosaka, thinking he's about to die, decides to post his last will and testament on his blog. But in a bizarre twist, the 8th diary holder turns his phone into a future diary, naming him as her apprentice. It's like getting surprise DLC in the middle of a match. Following the predictions of his new diary, Kosaka manages to reach the control room, where he finds an amnesiac Yuno, a catatonic Yuki, and a tied-up Hinata. His arrival snaps Yuki out of his trance, who remembers how Yuno kidnapped him to keep him safe until July 28th. Yuno throws the key to Yuki's handcuffs on the floor and the key to the control panel to Kosaka, who frees Akise and Mao. But as he's distracted, she pulls out a crossbow and fires. Before the bolt can hit, Yuki, who got the key thanks to a kick from Hinata, breaks breaks free, slaps Yuno across the face, and leaves her behind. His diary warned him that 3 more players are on their way, and there's no time for relationship drama. Deus Ex Machina summons the diary holders for a little chat at his place, the Cathedral of Causality. The meeting's agenda is the 8th's diary, which is basically a server that turns regular cell phones into future diaries. They even run a test and destroy a so-called King Kosaka's diary to prove the concept. Meanwhile, Yuki is wary of Yuno, unsure if he can trust her again. Seeing this, Akise, ever the brains of the operation, devises a plan to protect Yuki from a future attack. That night, Yuki's mother reveals that it was Yuno who made dinner, sending Yuki into a full-blown panic. His mother, on the other hand, is surprisingly chill about her son's recent run-ins with the police, but asks him to tell her everything later. Nishijima takes the group to the Kosaka family mansion. The plan is simple: disable the private telecommunications tower and cut off the enemy's connection. But of course, Yuno had to stir up trouble. She cuts the property's power, forcing Akise and Kosaka to go shut down the tower manually. To prevent further problems, Yuki ties Yuno's hands to try and keep her under control. That's when the 8th's forces invade the house, and Hinata and Mao are captured. With the tower disabled, the intruders, Marco and Ai, reveal themselves as the 7th diary holders, a couple with exchange diaries that show each other's future. Seeing how bad things have gotten, Yuki unties Yuno to protect himself. During the fight in the burning house, Marco takes a knife for Ai and then lays into Yuki for not doing the same when Yuno gets hurt, calling their love fake. The 7th flees with the hostages' diaries, and Minene shows up to help Yuki recover at the hospital. After the beating they took from Marco and Ai, Yuki and Yuno are laid up in the hospital. And who shows up for a visit? Yuki's father, Kuro, who conveniently happened to be in town. At the same time, Minene, who was sent to turn Yuki into a real fighter, is pushing him hard in his training. She's literally sitting on his back while the poor guy does push-ups. When his father arrives and sees this, he has a bizarre jealous fit and begs Minene to give him the same treatment. Minene, having zero patience, challenges the father to train alongside Yuki. A father-son competition begins with various challenges like pull-ups and strength tests. The problem is, Minene, just to be provocative, blatantly helps the father cheat at everything, much to the annoyance of Yuki, who was winning by a landslide. In the final test, a race to the top of a mountain, Yuki's father opens his heart. He tells him that he and his mother divorced because he was a disaster with money and had a massive debt, but that he was all set to pay it off. After hearing this, Yuki, feeling sentimental, lets his father win on purpose, figuring a victory in the race wouldn't bring his mother back anyway. In the end, Yuki and Yuno prepare for their showdown against the newlywed couple, Marco and Ai, at Sakurami Tower. We open with a heavy flashback from Ai. Her backstory is heartbreaking. She was abandoned by her parents at Sakurami Tower and ended up at Mother's Village, where she met Marco. The two became inseparable at school, and even planned to get married in the same tower where they first met. But her life turned into a nightmare when some classmates pulled a cruel prank, leading to her being assaulted by a group of guys. Marco showed up to save her, but in the chaos, he stabbed and killed one of the attackers. Devastated by guilt, he tried to take his own life, but I stopped him. Right then and there, they promised to be together forever.
It's gonna be you and me, forever.
I love you.
Back in the present, Marco and I take Kuro hostage and head to higher ground, where the 1st, the 2nd, and the 7th are in a standoff. Even though the 7th seem to have the upper hand, Yuno, who's nobody's fool, uses a decoy phone to trick everyone and separate the couple. The plan works, but the outcome is tragic. Ai gets wounded. As the tower collapses, Kuro manages to escape using a parachute. His ex-wife Rhea sees him land and immediately lays into him for abandoning their son to die. The last time we see Kuro, he's holding a knife, completely unhinged by her accusations. Down in the rubble, Ai, Yuki, and Yuno are trapped. Marco, despite being badly wounded, tries to rescue Ai and still finds time to speak his mind. He tears into Yuki for hiding behind Yuno and criticizes Yuno for being so controlling. It's then that we learn the truth. Marco is wounded and only wants to free Ai from the debris so he can spend his final moments with her. With everyone's help, they manage to lift the rubble, but it's too late. Ai is already dead. Marco then gives his parachute to Yuki and Yuno, choosing to die embracing Ai, saying this is what he wanted, just the two of them, until the end. As they parachute down, a hopeful Yuki says he's going to get his parents back together and asks for Yuno's help. But in this anime, happiness is short-lived. As soon as they land, Nishijima arrives with the worst possible news. Yuki's mother has been murdered. We go back in time, 1 year before all the madness began. Yuki had a little crush on a classmate, Mo Wakaba, which made his professional stalker, Yuno, less than thrilled. She sees Yuki with a love letter for Wakaba and decides she'll stop him from delivering it at any cost. To do this, she dons a pink bunny costume and starts following the pair as they shop for supplies for a school festival. In the end, Yuki manages to confess his feelings but gets rejected by Wakaba. Then we follow Yuno back home, and things take a bizarre turn. She greets her parents, who have been dead for a month. She recalls how they used to lock her in a cage for any minor mistake and starve her. One day she snapped, locked her parents in the same cage, and clung to her childhood promise of marrying Yuki to keep from going completely insane. Back in the present, Yuki is mourning his mother, Rhea, and even begs Deus Ex Machina to bring her back. But not even the Game Master has that power. He warns Yuki that the universe will be destroyed when he disappears, and Murmur drops a hint. If Yuki becomes the new master of the game, he might be able to save his mother and all of reality. Meanwhile, Kuro breaks into his old house. His son suspects that his father killed his mother but has no way to prove it. Yuki, in full detective mode, finds a pawnshop receipt and decides to follow his father the next day. He discovers that Kuro pawned something to buy a telescope, intending to watch the stars with his son. The man confesses to the crime, shows deep remorse, and arranges to turn himself in to the police, on the condition that he can reconnect with Yuki after he gets out of prison. Yuki forgives his father, but happiness is more fleeting than an Instagram story. Shortly after, one of the 11th diary owner's men shows up and stabs Kuro to death. Other agents arrive to kill Yuki, but the boy, remembering Murmur's words, throws all his principles out the window. He stabs the attackers, uses their bodies as a human shield, and completely transforms. Yuno appears to finish the job. A crying Yuki tries to kill Yuno but can't bring himself to do it, and she, as always, tells him she'll forever be by his side. We meet the 11th diary owner, Mayor John Bulks, and it's clear he's not messing around. To draw out the 8th, he decides to simply demolish her orphanage. It's Disney villain-level evil, only much darker. Following Yuno's advice, Yuki finally decides to act like a protagonist. He puts the pieces together and exposes the mayor's identity to everyone, including Deus Ex Machina himself, during a divine meeting. After the big reveal, the 1st and 2nd hatch a plan, team up with the 8th to take down the 11th. Meanwhile, a criminal investigation subplot is underway. Detective Nishijima and Akise are racking their brains over the 3rd skeleton found in the Yuno's house. A mystery lurking in the background, just waiting to explode. The unlikely alliance goes on the attack. Yuki, Yuno, and the 8th's orphans set a trap for the mayor's security team, but Bulks is a high-tech villain and uses signal jammers to render the kids' apprentice diaries useless. And then comes the soap opera-worthy plot twist. Yuki and Yuno use the opportunity to betray the 8th, who ends up escaping with the very man they were trying to catch. A daylight backstabbing. To top it all off, just as Yuno is about to finish Bulks, Minene and Akise show up out of nowhere. They bring game-changing information. Forensics cross-reference DNA from Yuno's umbilical cord with the 3rd skeleton. The result is jaw-dropping. The body found in her house belongs to Yuno herself. What on earth? Despite the revelation that Yuno might be a clone or a ghost or something, Yuki doesn't show a shred of doubt and continues to side with her. Maybe it's love, or maybe he's just used to the weirdness.
I'm sorry, love.
It's all right, let's go. Are you not listening to me? Whoever the hell that girl is, she most certainly isn't who you think.
Meanwhile, Nishijima and Minene form a spy duo. He provides the blueprints and location of John Bulks the 11th. Bulks' plan is megalomaniacal. He wants to connect the 8th's diary to his supercomputer, Holon 3, and give future diaries to the entire city's population, basically turning all of Sakurami into an army of psychics. During their infiltration, Minene gets caught, but Nishijima saves her and in the heat of the moment, proposes to her. She blushes beet red. The 8th surrenders, and Minene and Nishijima even manage to damage the computer, but the damage is only superficial. It's too late. The upload is complete, and now every citizen has a future diary on their phone. Seeing the chaos, Akise recruits Yuki's friends, who now also have diaries. This makeshift team's new mission is to invade the quad towers and destroy the Holon 3's backup servers once and for all. But Minene discovers Bulks' big trick. Since he helped create the diaries, he has an admin mode and can spy on everyone's predictions. The attack goes horribly wrong. The team tries to trick the system, but Bulks' right-hand man counters their move. The result is a massacre. Minene loses raises a hand, Nishijima is shot and killed right after his proposal, and Yuki's friends are captured. When all seems lost, Yuki and Yuno appear. The big surprise? The failed attack was just a diversion they had planned themselves. Their real plan is much dirtier, to take civilians hostage. Yuki is playing on desperation mode and decides to take hostages to corner Mayor John Balks. Meanwhile, Yuno is in Guardian Angel mode, saving the rest of the crew who were captured. The mayor has hidden himself in a super secure vault that only opens with his retinal scan or that of a Yuno's family member. Basically, an impenetrable fortress. To make matters worse, Minene, the ninth, turns against Yuki. She's pissed off because he let Nishijima die and now wants revenge. In the middle of the showdown, she has a moment to vent and reveals her tragic past. An orphan in the Middle East, she had to steal and deceive to survive. An origin story that would make any Disney villain tear up. Yuno tries to eliminate the eighth, but Detective Akise appears and stops her. Suddenly, Minene gets a chance to finish Yuki, but she hesitates when she sees how much he resembles her, a boy who just misses his parents. In that moment of weakness, she gets shot. Even wounded, the ninth decides to sacrifice herself. She activates a bomb in her own body and throws herself against the vault door, breaking her diary in the process. A heroic sacrifice, but it's all for nothing. The explosion doesn't even scratch the door. When all seems lost, Yuno shows up, sends Yuki on another mission, and walks into the vault like it's nothing. Balks, who was so confident she was a fake, is simply wiped off the map. In the following days, the universe begins to be swallowed by black spheres, and Akise, growing more suspicious of Yuno, appears in God's realm to ask the million-dollar question, can the winner really bring back the dead? And then he reveals that no, the winner of the game can't bring anyone back to life. It's the end of the line for anyone counting on that, and the revelation gets even crazier. Deus reveals that Akise is actually his own creation, like an advanced NPC, made solely to be an observer in the game. Deus then issues a challenge. If Akise can prove he has free will, he will survive. Alone, he fails, but with a little help from the Eighth and her crew, he gets an apprentice diary and a chance to return to the game. Back on Earth, Yuki and Yuno are hunting the Eighth, but Akise shows up to play bodyguard and stall them. Seeing that things are getting complicated, Yuno resorts to the ultimate level of manipulation. She stabs herself and blames Akise, sending Yuki into a panic. The Eighth's crew tries to warn Yuki that it's all a lie, but Yuno isn't in the mood to talk and shoots them all. Akise finally catches up to them and tries to yell the truth, but Yuno appears. He manages to break her diary, but in a soap opera-worthy twist, she pulls a second diary from her pocket and strikes Akise before she's killed too. The Eighth asks Yuki to create a happy world for the children. Akise, bleeding out and on the verge of death, refuses to fall. In a bizarre and heroic scene, he shows a message on his phone to Yuki and keeps walking toward him. Meanwhile, Murmur looks on with a sinister smile at God's empty throne. Murmur is holding God's core in her hand, like Thanos with an infinity stone, and is already acting like the new boss in town. God, who is now just a little talking ball, tries to scold her, but she doesn't care. Apparently, her plan is to sit on the throne and rule everything herself. Meanwhile, Yuno tells Yuki that the world ends on July 28, which also happens to be her happy end day, when the two will finally become one. Super romantic, if it weren't so incredibly creepy. Yuki wakes up at Yuno's house, which is more like a squat with rigged electricity and water. He walks in on her bathing in a barrel and gets all flustered when she invites him to join her. Turns out she was wearing a swimsuit the whole time. A classic anime prank, but Yuki's mind is racing. He remembers his friend's warnings and starts to wonder if Yuno is planning to kill him. The paranoia only gets worse. Yuno dresses him in a yukata and invites him to bathe again. He refuses, using his diary as an excuse, and lets it slip that he doesn't trust her. This hurts Yuno, who breaks down crying, saying she did everything for him and he hasn't even touched her. Yuki is confused. She loves me, but she wants to kill me. The next day, Yuki decides he was an idiot for doubting her and resolves to make the happy end happen. They bathe together and yes, they finally become one. After they're done, he asks why she lied about bringing the dead back. Yuno grabs an axe, but only to plant it in the floor, and confesses she knew it was impossible. She asks him to kill her so he can survive, but Yuki refuses. That's when he drops the bombshell, Akise's message, which revealed that Yuno has already won the game once and traveled through through time. Yuno snaps. She lunges at Yuki, who now runs for his life. He ends up in the room with the corpses, where Murmur appears, shoves him into a hole and says, "You want to know the truth?" She shows him the past of the first world. There, Yuki and Yuno were also finalists and had planned to die together. But Yuno faked it, became a goddess, and upon realizing she couldn't resurrect him, traveled back in time to this world.
This is the bit where she learns the dead stay dead.
And to enter the game again, the first world's Yuno killed this world's Yuno. Yuki watches the scene in horror as Yuno 2.0 dies writing "Help me" in her own blood. The illusion shatters, and Yuki, now enraged and floating, faces an ice-cold Yuno. And then we see a flashback of Yuno's life, her parents' deaths, the promise she made with Yuki, and the murder of her alternate self. We find out that Murmur was the little devil on her shoulder the whole time, encouraging her and even erasing her memories so she wouldn't get in trouble with this world's god. Back in the present, in the floating arena, Yuki confronts Yuno. Murmur tries to defend her friend, saying she was desperate. Yuki asks why she wants to kill him, and her answer is a masterclass in insanity. If he won't accept it, then it's better for him to die now so she can become a goddess and start a new game from scratch. She couldn't care less if other people die all over again. Murmur destroys the platform to kill Yuki, but just when all seems lost, he's saved by none other than Minene. She's back, brimming with divine powers like a superheroine who's arrived to turn the tables. It turns out the original god had already figured out Yuno and Murmur's plan, so he gave half of his powers to Minene as a backup. Murmur and Yuno flee by time jumping. Minene and Yuki follow, landing 2 years in the past of a third world. The mission now is to stop Yuno from killing her third version and restarting the cycle of slaughter. We get a glimpse of this new world. Yuno 3.0 is locked in a cage by her mother, and the other participants are living their lives, about to enter the game again. Yuki and Minene break into the Yuno's house. Yuki can't stand seeing Yuno 3.0 suffering in the cage and saves her against Minene's wishes. But the peace is short-lived. The first world's Yuno and Murmur crash through the ceiling. To make matters worse, Yuno 1 reveals her trump card. She's kidnapped Yuki's parents from this third world. It's time for a deadly fight. Minene, seeing how bad things have gotten,
I think you're going to get a kick out of these familiar faces.
Oh my god.
grabs Yuki and Yuno 3.0 and flees. As they escape, she lays it on the line for Yuki, who is desperate to save his parents. Make your choice, kid. Who are you going to save? Your parents, the Yuno who loves you and wants to kill you, or the Yuno you just saved? The episode ends on this impossible choice. Yuno is in a philosophical mood, looking at the half moon and thinking she's just like it, half light, half dark. She then shows her clean hand as the light side and her blood-soaked palm as the dark side. Very poetic, if it weren't so sinister. Meanwhile, Murmur is complaining that Minene ruined their plans to erase Yuki, but relaxes because they got his diary. But when Yuno reads her own diary, she gets all confused about her feelings for Yuki. Suddenly, the ambulance Yuki called arrives at the Yuno's house. Yuno's father shows up, extremely worried, thinking her mother did something. In a moment of inner turmoil, Yuno suddenly turns on her own father. Murmur acts fast and restrains her, saying they can't just go around changing the future like that, or they'll break the causal timeline. Far away, Minene drags Yuki and the third world's Yuno along, telling him it's impossible to save everyone. But Yuki, the eternal optimist, insists there's still a chance. After a quick chat, Minene leaves him to fend for himself. Yuki then prepares to face Yuno, who he knows will find him with her diary. He hides in the classroom where they first met, ready for the confrontation. And what a confrontation it is. Murmur crashes in like a wrecking ball, and Yuno lunges at Yuki. They trade blows, tumble down the stairs, and a school turns into a war zone with explosions everywhere. Yuki realizes there's no point in running as long as Yuno has her diary, so he decides he'll try to convince her to give up the game, even if it costs him his life. He confesses his love, and a hesitant Yuno throws a knife at him, but the blow isn't fatal.
Interfere! Because I love you, you crazy bitch! No, I thought she'd do it close range.
Just as Murmur is about to attack, Minene shows up in the nick of time to save the day again, but the joy is short-lived. Yuno uses her powers to trap Yuki in a perfect illusion world, where he has everything he ever wanted. Meanwhile, in the real world, Yuno unleashes Murmur's berserker mode, who goes all out against Minene.
Murmur, I shatter your restraint! You were half dead a second ago.
In the illusion world, Yuki is living his best life, about to go to the movies with his parents, completely unaware that he's trapped in a dream created by Yuno. In the real world, Murmur, back to normal, heals Yuno's father to avoid a paradox and tells Yuno to kill her third world version. But upon confronting her, the first world's Yuno is shocked. Yuno 3.0 isn't suffering. She believes her family can be happy again. This messes with our Yuno's head, and she begins to question everything. This hesitation causes a bizarre butterfly effect. The third world's future begins to fix itself. Tsubaki escapes a bomb, Yomatsu catches a serial killer, and even this world's Minene gets a happy ending. It's as if Yuki's actions are rewriting reality for the better. John Balks realizes the future is changing and even foresees his own death, which makes God consider a new way to choose his successor. Back in the illusion, Yuki starts to feel that something is wrong. He can't go see the stars with his parents because he feels he needs to do something important. Something about that girl he can't remember. His parents encourage him to go after her. The feeling is so strong that he finally screams Yuno's name, shattering the illusion.
Making the ultimate sacrifice. Death is nothing.
Yuki reappears and asks Yuno to kill him as he doesn't belong in this world. He is ready to sacrifice himself, but in a spectacular twist, Yuno stabs herself. She says she can't kill him and that this is the right future. Her last request is a kiss, and she dies in his arms. With her death, Yuki becomes the winner and is taken to the second world as the new god. Time passes. In the third world, everyone lives happily. Minene has children with Nishijima. The other former game participants lead normal lives, and Yuno 3.0 is a happy girl, though she feels like she's forgotten something important. Meanwhile, in the second world, 10,000 years have passed. Yuki is a lonely god in an empty universe, depressed because a world without Yuno is meaningless. He stares at his diary, mourning, until a new entry appears. Yuno came back to see me. The final scene shows the two of them, together, creating a new world.
That was 10,000 years and I felt every one of them. Yuki's finally making a new world, but unless he gets antsy...